The crystalline halls of the Galactic Council chamber hummed with tension as Maya stood before the assembled representatives of 47 civilized species. Her dark eyes scanned the amphitheater, taking in the varied forms of alien dignitaries, some gaseous, others silicon-based, a few that existed partially in dimensions her human brain could barely comprehend. She wore the simple gray uniform of Earth's diplomatic corps, unadorned except for a single silver pin shaped like their pale blue planet. Ambassador Maya, the council speaker, a Vexthari whose translucent body pulsed with bioluminescent patterns, addressed her with barely concealed condescension. Your species has been observed for 3 standard cycles since first contact. The council must express concern. Maya's expression remained neutral, though her fingers tightened almost imperceptibly around the data tablet she carried. Concern, honored speaker. Earth has complied with all quarantine protocols, shared our medical and agricultural advances freely, and maintained peaceful relations with every species we've encountered. A ripple of what she'd learned to interpret as skeptical amusement passed through the assembly. The Thryn delegate, a creature resembling a 6-limbed arthropod covered in iridescent chitin, clicked its mandibles in their approximation of laughter. Peaceful. Your historical databases tell a different story, human. Every species has a violent past, Maya countered calmly. The Galactic Accord recognizes that civilization is a journey, not a destination. Indeed, the speaker agreed, its light patterns shifting to a cooler spectrum. Which is why we find humanity's specific form of historical violence so troubling. You see, Ambassador, the Council has studied warfare across thousands of species and millions of years. We understand conflict. We understand territorial disputes, resource competition, even ideological struggles. But humans... The speaker paused, and Maya could sense the genuine unease emanating from the assembled beings. Humans don't fight wars, you annihilate. Maya felt her heartbeat quicken, but her training held firm. I don't understand the distinction you're making, honored speaker. The holographic display at the chamber's center flickered to life, showing grainy footage from Earth's 21st century. Cities reduced to rubble, mushroom clouds rising over devastated landscapes. The images were from the archive, historical records humanity had submitted as part of their application for council membership. When the Krell fight the Demaxians, a new voice spoke, the Orion delegate, a being of pure energy contained within a magnetic field matrix. They clash along borders. Soldiers meet soldiers. Casualties are calculated. Objectives are limited. When one side gains advantage, negotiations begin. This is how civilized species conduct warfare. It is brutal, yes, but constrained by mutual understanding of acceptable limits. The hologram shifted, now showing comparative data from conflicts across the galaxy. Battle timelines, casualty figures, territorial exchanges, all following predictable patterns that spoke to some universal calculus of cost and benefit. But humans, the Orion continued, when you commit to war, you don't seek advantage. You seek extinction of the enemy. Your history is filled with concepts we find: alien, unconditional surrender, total war, mutually assured destruction, scorched earth. You've invented an entire vocabulary for the complete and utter annihilation of your opponents. Maya stood silent as the evidence mounted. The Council had done their research thoroughly. They showed tactical analyses of Earth's conflicts, how human military doctrine consistently prioritized not just defeating enemy forces but destroying their capacity to resist, their will to fight, their very identity as a cohesive entity. The Carthaginian solution, the Thryn delegate interjected, mandibles clicking rapidly. Your ancient Romans didn't just defeat Carthage. They obliterated it, salted the earth so nothing could grow, erased it so completely that its exact location was lost to history for millennia. And this was not an anomaly in human behavior. It was a template you've repeated throughout your existence. The speaker's bioluminescence pulsed in agitation. What concerns us most, Ambassador, is that this tendency has only grown more efficient with your technological advancement. Your Second World War, a conflict that consumed your entire planet, ended not with negotiated peace but with weapons that could vaporize cities in an instant. And you didn't use them once as a demonstration. You used them twice to ensure complete capitulation. Maya finally spoke, her voice steady despite the weight of thousands of alien eyes upon her. The Council judges us by actions taken in our darkest hours, by decisions made before we understood the true cost of such weapons. We learned. Did you? The interruption came from the Selenar ambassador, a crystalline being whose thoughts manifested as harmonic frequencies. Your Cold War doctrine of mutually assured destruction didn't rely on the hope that such weapons would never be used. It relied on the certainty that if they were used, both sides would ensure complete annihilation of the other. You made suicide pacts on a planetary scale and called it deterrence. It worked, Maya said quietly. We didn't destroy ourselves. By the margins of minutes and the decisions of individuals, the speaker responded. We've reviewed your historical records. Multiple times your species came within heartbeats of total self-annihilation. The Council finds it remarkable that you survived yourselves long enough to reach the stars. The chamber fell silent for a moment. Maya could feel the judgment pressing down on her, the accumulated wisdom of civilizations far older than humanity finding her species wanting. Perhaps, she began carefully, the Council is correct. Perhaps humanity's approach to conflict is fundamentally different from yours. But I would ask you to consider why that might be and what it means for our application to join you. She activated her own data tablet, and the holographic display shifted to show Earth, not in war, but in peace. Cities rebuilt from ashes, gardens growing where battlefields once raged, the glass towers of New Geneva rising on land where nuclear weapons had once been tested. Humanity learned to wage total war because we learned that half measures only prolonged suffering, Maya explained. When we fought with everything we had because we understood that the alternative, endless grinding conflict was worse. Yes, we developed the capacity for annihilation, but we also developed something else, the absolute determination never to use it again. The hologram showed the United Nations building, the International Criminal Court, the Mars Colony Accords, the Treaty of Lunar Neutrality. Every human child learns about Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Every human school visits the memorials to the Holocaust, to the killing fields, to the countless places where we nearly destroyed ourselves. We don't hide our capacity for annihilation, honored Council. We force ourselves to remember it, to confront it, to ensure it remains forever in our past. The Vexthari speaker's bioluminescence had shifted to patterns Maya had learned to associate with thoughtful contemplation. You claim your capacity for total war makes you suitable for Council membership. No, Maya replied. I claim that our intimate knowledge of annihilation, of standing at the precipice and choosing to step back, makes us valuable allies. The Council has maintained peace for 10,000 standard years, but it has done so among species who understand war as a limited exchange, a calculated risk. You've never faced an existential threat because none of you can truly imagine one species having the will to completely destroy another. She paused, letting her words settle into the vast chamber. But the galaxy is large, and the Council's borders expand ever outward. What happens when you encounter a species that doesn't share your understanding of limited warfare? What happens when you meet an enemy that seeks not advantage, but annihilation? The Thrin delegate's chitin plates rattled, a sign of agitation. You're suggesting the Council needs humanity because of your capacity for total war. I'm suggesting, Maya said carefully, that humanity knows the cost of total war better than any species in this chamber. We know it intimately, terribly, and because we know it, we can recognize it in others. We can deter it. We can, if absolutely necessary, match it. She looked directly at the speaker. But more importantly, we know how to prevent it because we've spent the last 2 centuries learning to overcome our own worst instincts. The chamber erupted in a cacophony of alien languages, translated in real time into a dozen different sensory formats. Arguments, debates, concerns, all swirling through the ancient hall like a storm. Through it all, Maya stood quietly waiting. She thought of William, her colleague and friend, who'd helped her prepare for this moment. William, who'd lost family in the conflict zones before humanity had finally learned to police itself. William, who told her before she left Earth, "Make them understand, Maya. We're not monsters. We're just the species that met our monsters and survived." The speaker raised an appendage, and silence fell. "The Council will deliberate. But understand this, Ambassador Maya of Earth. If we accept humanity into the galactic community, it will not be despite your capacity for annihilation. It will be with full awareness of what you are capable of, and with the understanding that such power demands extraordinary responsibility." Maya bowed her head slightly. "Humanity accepts that burden, honored speaker. We've carried it alone for long enough. Perhaps it's time we learn to share it with those who can help us remain worthy of the second chance we gave ourselves." As the session adjourned and Maya left the crystalline halls, she didn't know if the Council would accept Earth's application. But she knew she'd spoken truth. Humanity didn't fight wars like other species. They'd learned, at terrible cost, that war fought halfway was war fought forever. And in learning that lesson, they'd earned the right to ensure no other species had to learn it the same way. The stars wheeled overhead as she walked to her shuttle, and Maya wondered what William would say when she reported back. Probably something irreverent, she thought with a slight smile. But he'd understand what she'd done here today. Not hidden humanity's darkness, but presented it as the foundation for their light. Sometimes the greatest strength wasn't the power to destroy, but the wisdom to choose not to.